Welcome to the story of evolution.
What if the secret to conquering the world was to give up the very thing that lets you move? It sounds impossible, and yet, sometime around 160 million years ago, one group of lizards began an evolutionary journey that did just that. They sacrificed their legs, and in return, they inherited the earth. This is the story of how that single radical choice led to the incredible diversity, unique anatomy, and complex behaviors of the snakes we know today. Our story begins in the Jurassic period, a world dominated by dinosaurs. But in the shadows, small-scaled reptiles were facing their own evolutionary pressures. Among them were lizards, and a particular lineage was about to make a monumental leap. One strong hypothesis is that these ancestors were burrowing creatures. To navigate tight subterranean tunnels, limbs could become an obstacle, not an advantage. Over millions of years, a radical idea took hold in their DNA: lose the legs. This wasn't some overnight decision. It was a slow, gradual process driven by survival. Genetic and anatomical evidence confirms that snakes evolved from within the lizard group, though the exact ancestral line is still debated. The fossil record points to the earliest snake ancestors appearing between 143 and 167 million years ago, embarking on a path that would completely reshape their bodies and their destiny. They were betting on a new streamlined form, a decision that played a role in their survival through one of Earth's greatest extinction events, allowing them to radiate across the globe. Giving up legs required a complete anatomical reinvention. This transformation was orchestrated by powerful genetic regulators. We now know that limb loss in snakes is strongly linked to mutations in a key DNA segment that controls a gene called sonic hedgehog. This regulatory switch, known as the ZRS enhancer, essentially shut down the limb-building machinery. This, combined with other genetic changes, allowed for a new body plan to emerge: an incredibly extended trunk with hundreds of vertebrae and ribs. Some modern pythons can have between 200 and 400 vertebrae, a staggering number compared to the 33 in a human spine. This elongated body demanded a new internal architecture. Paired organs like kidneys were rearranged, shifting from a side-by-side placement to one in front of the other. In a striking example of evolutionary efficiency, most snakes rely on a single elongated right lung, as their left lung is severely reduced or has disappeared entirely. But perhaps the most critical adaptation was in the skull. To thrive, these new creatures needed to eat. Their lizard ancestors had relatively rigid skulls, but snakes evolved far more joints. Fossil work suggests this life-altering flexibility may have evolved quite early, allowing their jaws to move independently and stretch to incredible widths. This lets them swallow prey much larger than their own heads, a defining feature of snakes today. For decades, the earliest chapters of the snake story were a mystery, locked away in stone. The delicate nature of snake skeletons makes them poor candidates for fossilization. But recent discoveries have begun to shed light on their ancient past. One of the most significant finds is Najash rionegrina, a 95 million year old fossil from Patagonia. Najash was a terrestrial snake, and crucially, it still had two small but well-formed hind legs, giving us a perfect snapshot of the transition from lizard to snake. This find challenged the idea that snakes began as tiny blind creatures, revealing they were larger and had wide mouths from early on. Other fossils like Haseophis terrasanctus were found in ancient marine environments. This fueled a long-standing debate among paleontologists. Did snakes originate in the soil or the sea? While the debate was lively, current evidence from genetics and the fossil record now strongly supports a terrestrial origin for snakes. Those early sea snakes were likely a branch that moved back into the water, not the origin point for all snakes. And then there's the giant. In a Colombian coal mine, scientists unearthed the vertebrae of a monster they called Titanoboa cerejonensis. Living around 60 million years ago, this colossal serpent is estimated to have reached lengths of around 13 meters or 42 feet and weighed over a ton. Titanoboa was so enormous that it likely hunted giant turtles and crocodiles, standing as a testament to the incredible potential of the serpentine body plan. Having abandoned limbs, snakes needed a new way to interact with and understand their environment. They evolved a sophisticated sensory toolkit that is alien to our own. A critical sense is their sense of smell. But they don't use a nose in the way we do. Instead, they use their forked tongue. With every flick, the tongue gathers scent particles from the air. It then retracts and delivers these particles to a specialized chemosensory structure on the roof of the mouth, called the Jacobson's organ. This organ analyzes the chemicals, providing a detailed scent map of the surrounding area and allowing snakes to track prey, find mates, and avoid predators with incredible precision. Their vision is also unique. Lacking eyelids, they have a fixed, unblinking stare. And while their eyesight isn't always as sharp as ours, some have developed extraordinary abilities. Pit vipers, for instance, possess heat-sensing pits in the region between their eyes and nostrils. These organs detect infrared radiation, allowing them to see the body heat of their prey in total darkness, just like a thermal camera. And how do they hear without external ears? They listen with their jaw. Snakes are masters at detecting vibrations through the ground. These vibrations travel up through the bones of their jaw to the inner ear, alerting them to the approach of prey or a potential threat. They can also detect some airborne sounds. Through this combination of tasting the air, seeing in heat, and feeling the world's vibrations, snakes have become supreme sensory specialists. It's an incredibly complex and fascinating system, and we are just scratching the surface. If you're finding this journey into the world of snakes as amazing as I am, take a second to hit that like button and let me know in the comments which of these adaptations you find most incredible. The extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago was a catastrophe for much of life on Earth. But for snakes, it was an opportunity. With giant predators gone and new ecological niches open, they underwent a massive diversification. This is when the family tree of modern snakes truly began to branch out. The earliest diverging living snakes are the Scolicophidia, commonly known as blind snakes. These are tiny burrowing creatures that have retained many primitive traits. From these humble beginnings, an incredible array of forms emerged. The constrictors, like boas and pythons, evolved to become powerful ambush predators, with some retaining tiny, vestigial remnants of their hind legs known as anal spurs. But one of the greatest evolutionary explosions happened within a huge group of snakes, historically known as the family Colubridae. While modern science has reorganized this massive wastebasket family into several distinct families, this group still represents the incredible adaptability of snakes. It contains thousands of species that have adapted to nearly every habitat imaginable, from forests and deserts to rivers and trees. Their success firmly established snakes as a dominant group of predators on every continent except Antarctica. While constriction proved a highly effective hunting strategy, another, even more potent weapon was evolving: venom. Snake venom isn't just modified saliva. It's a complex cocktail of proteins and enzymes produced by specialized oral glands, which evolved to subdue prey and aid in digestion. This chemical arms race led to the rise of the world's most famously dangerous snakes. Two major families are famous for perfecting this art. The Elapidae, which includes cobras, mambas, and sea snakes, developed fixed, hollow fangs at the front of their mouths to deliver potent neurotoxins that attack the nervous system. The Viperidae, vipers and rattlesnakes, took a different approach, evolving long, hollow fangs that can rotate and fold back against the roof of the mouth. Their venom is often hemotoxic, destroying blood cells and tissues. While these two families are well known, they aren't the only ones. Venom has evolved in many other snake lineages as well. Today, close to 4,000 species of snakes inhabit our planet, a direct result of their long evolutionary journey. They are masters of their environments, with behaviors as diverse as their forms. Some are active, wide foraging hunters, while others are patient ambush predators, relying on camouflage and a single, swift strike. They grow throughout their lives, periodically shedding their skin, a process called ecdysis, not just to grow, but also to renew their skin and get rid of parasites. Their reproductive strategies are just as varied. While most reproduce sexually, some species have evolved the ability for females to reproduce without males, a process known as parthenogenesis. The Brahmini blind snake is an all-female species that reproduces exclusively this way. Even more astonishing is facultative parthenogenesis, where females of species that normally reproduce sexually, like some copperheads and pythons, can have virgin births. This can happen after long periods of isolation from males, when a small cell produced during egg formation essentially acts like a sperm to fertilize the egg. From a four-legged lizard in the Jurassic undergrowth to the legless masters of nearly every ecosystem on Earth, the story of the snake is one of the most dramatic in evolutionary history. By sacrificing their limbs, they unlocked a new world of possibilities. They developed an elongated body capable of incredible feats, a sensory system that perceives the world in ways we can barely imagine, and a chemical arsenal that makes them some of the planet's most efficient predators. The journey was radical, and the result is undeniable. That single counterintuitive change, giving up legs, wasn't a loss, but an evolutionary masterstroke that allowed them to become the ultimate survivors. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the evolution of snakes. If you want to explore more incredible stories from the natural world, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. And as always, thanks for watching.